Hi guys, today's video is using makeup that I already have in my collection. There is one product that is new to me. It's a blush. I think it was released either last year, the shade, or the year before. Now, when I do my videos, I've always done all my skincare beforehand, and the last step is sunscreen, and I did that about 3 hours ago now. It's now later in the morning. But I have had 2 or 3 people ask me which sunscreen that I use, and just before, about 10 minutes before I start a video, or 5 minutes, I do apply a thin layer of the sunscreen again because I have oily skin. It's now the middle of summer here in New Zealand and the weather is really warm. So instead of a moisturizer as my last step in the morning, I use the sunscreen. And this is the one that I use. This is the one that I get from Yeux, and this is Canmake. It's called the Mermaid Skin Gel UV. Has an SPF of 50 and a PA of 4 pluses. So it's quite a small tube. I pay about 20 New Zealand dollars a tube for this, so it's probably around about $14 US. Yeux have a lot of sales, and that's when I picked this up. And I have about 8 in my drawer at a time because I never want to run out of it. And when they have a sale, I do pick up quite a few. This is a really beautiful sunscreen. The Japanese and Korean sunscreens, I think, are just far superior to anything else that I can get in New Zealand or anything else that I might be able to pick up in the USA or Australia. So I'm just going to just quickly show you what it's like. So this is what the sunscreen looks like. It's very lightweight. This also has skincare ingredients as well, and that's why I just love the sunscreen. It's really, really beautiful. So it just goes on beautifully. It soaks into the skin. I always have a little bit of glow once I've applied it and when I go to reapply it, but there is absolutely no cast. Now, I will link this in the description box below, and when you go to the link and then you go to the sunscreens, it shows a picture of 3 of them, and this one is the one with the pink label. I think there's also one like with a green label and maybe one with a clear. But when you choose which sunscreen it is, you choose the clear one. This is the only one that I've tried out of the 3, but it's just such a lovely sunscreen. So I applied the full teaspoonful when I did my last step in my skincare. That was earlier this morning. And I'm just going to reapply some. So I'm not going to go with a 1/4 teaspoon. I think I said a teaspoon just before, but it's a 1/4 teaspoon of sunscreen that I apply to my face, and then another 1/4 sunscreen to my neck, chest, and I also do my hands and arms as well. So it's just a small amount that I reapply, but because it has really lovely moisturizing ingredients in it, I just don't need, especially in summertime here when it's so warm. So my last step in my skincare, instead of a moisturizer and then the sunscreen on top, I just apply the sunscreen with no other moisturizer. I save the moisturizers, the more thicker ones that I have, I use them in my nighttime routine. So once I put it on underneath my eyes and my eyelids, and I'll just let that soak in for about 5 to 10 minutes, and then I'll be back and we'll put on the primer. So for the primer today, I'm going to use the newly released. I did a dedicated video on this. This is the Dior Forever. It's the Velvet Veil. This is the one geared more for oily skin. It just is, it's just a soft matte. And I do 1 pump, and I just dot this around my face. Now with the foundation that I'm going to use today, I haven't actually used this primer with that foundation, but I've used this primer with a lot of foundations that I do have, and it's worked beautifully with all the ones that I've tried so far. So I don't see why it wouldn't work with the foundation that I'm going to use today. So the foundation that I'm going to use today is an Estee Lauder one. This was released last year. It's the Double Wear Sheer Longwear Makeup. This does have an SPF 20 in it. And this isn't as mattifying as the original Estee Lauder Double Wear, which is fabulous for oily skin, and that's been around for about 30 years. This, as it says, is much more lightweight. This is a sheer one. I find that this is a little bit more glowy than the original Double Wear, and with the original Double Wear, if I was in a real rush, I could put that on and not even powder it, even on a hot day like it's going to be today, and it would just stay put. With this one, I do find that I need to powder it, but I love it that it is more lightweight, and I think it's really a perfect sort of foundation, especially in the summertime. And today, like I was saying, it is going to be quite hot, and this is going to wear really, really beautifully. So I apply this either with a brush or a sponge, and I've already given this a good shake. So I just apply some on the back of my hand, and I'm just going to grab a foundation brush. I'm going to grab a Sonia G1. This is one of her travel brushes. And it definitely has more of a lightweight consistency, this foundation. And it gives what I would say would be a light coverage, light towards medium. But I think it does look really, really lovely on the skin. It just sort of evens out your complexion, and you don't get a heavy look with your foundation. And I know a lot of people now, they just like that really lightweight type of look with their foundations, and this one is really perfect. So whereas the original Estee Lauder Double Wear is really more geared towards those with combination oily and really oily skin, I would say that this foundation could be worn for people with normal skin and even people with dry skin as well. So I think that this foundation gives a really beautiful finish. So you can still see my sunspot under there, and I've got some there and some up there as well. That's still showing through. And just a little bit of the redness. Now you could add a concealer over the top, and I've done that before, but today I'm really just going to leave it like this. I think it looks really lovely, and I quite like it, especially in the summertime with a bit of your skin showing through as well. I think it looks really, really lovely. So now I'm going to put on concealer, and I'm going to use the newly released, it's the Chanel Sublimage one, and this is the one that I picked up in 30, but I recently asked my Chanel SA if I could have the shade 32, and I just wanted to see what that was like. So she gave it to me in this little sample, but it's actually going to last me a long time because you only really need a tiny amount. Now I have used this shade for the last 2 or 3 days, and I really like it. Now I still like the shade 30. I think that gives a really nice brightening, but the 32 I think just matches really, really perfectly. And the little sample bottle that they give is really good. It has this tiny little spatula on it. So I'm just going to put, I'm just getting used to this little spatula. I'm just going to put just a little bit in the corner, and then I'll just tap it out as I usually do using my fingers. But I am really enjoying this shade. So this is the shade 32. So I've now done my eyebrows. I've also put eyeshadow primer on as well, and I've also powdered under my eyes. Everything that I'm putting on my face today will be listed and linked in the description box below. So this is the concealer, the one in 32, and I really like it. Like I said, I still like the 130 that I got. That one is a little bit more brightening, but I'm really loving the shade 32. So this little sample is going to take a little while to use up, but once I have, I think I'm also going to purchase the full size, as well as the 30 that I've got, and I'll just interchange between the two because I absolutely love that Sublimage concealer. I think it is just absolutely gorgeous. So now I'm going to powder my face. I'm going to use the Chanel Natural Finish Loose Powder and a brush, the BK Beauty one that I've been using recently. I can't remember the number of it. Anyway, I did some washing of my brushes last night and that was one of them. So today I'm going to use the Sonia G. This is the Face One brush, and I'll use this to buff the powder in. I'm actually getting through this Chanel powder. About a bit more than halfway through it, I think, so I may be finishing that this year, and of course I'll repurchase it when I do finish it. So now let's get on to bronzer, and what I'm going to do is use a new Tom Ford product. This was released towards the end of last year, and they're actually called the Contour Duos. Now I got the shades 1 and 2, and I think the formula of these are really beautiful. So the 1 Intensity 1 is actually quite a warm colour, and I've been using this as a bronzer for the last couple of days, and I think it looks really lovely as a bronzer. Now the shades that come with these that are technically supposed to be contours, they are really beautiful. And they do come with these that are supposed to go over the top, but they really, I don't think they do very much at all. So today I'm just going to be using this shade here, and I'm going to use the BK Beauty, the 106, to put this on. Do have to go fairly careful. I'll just put the excess over the side. I can always add a little bit more soon if I want to, but I think this is a lovely shade as a bronzer for me, and I don't mind sort of quite a deep bronze. It is summertime here, so I think it gives a really beautiful look to the overall makeup, and I think the shade is really lovely. Often with a bronzer I do pop some down here, but I'm wearing this white shirt today, so I think I'll just keep the bronzer just to around my cheek area and through my forehead. So for my eyeshadow today, I'm going to use a mixture of matte powder eyeshadow and also liquid as well, and both are Sisley products. So I've got a Sisley single here, and this is in the shade Matte Cocoa, and then I'm also going to use 2 shades of the Sisley, the liquid eyeshadows. I think these are really beautiful products. I'm really into liquid eyeshadows at the moment. I think they just give a really beautiful, and they're also a simple look as well. And in the summertime, I just like applying makeup that is just that little bit more lighter. So I'm going to take the Refer number 14. And this is the only matte shadow that I'm going to use today. I do have about 3 other Sisley eyeshadows, and I really like them. I think I never have any issues with the way they blend. I think they're really, really lovely. So this is similar to what I did in my last video when I used the Chanel, those liquid eyeshadows as well, and I used just a deeper matte shade in the outer corner, and then the rest I used the liquid eyeshadow. So I'm just going to grab a little bit more. Then I'll take the Sonia G, the pencil one, just staying with this matte eyeshadow, and I'm going to run a little bit of this my lower lash line. So the 2 Sisley, these are the Ombre Eclat liquid eyeshadows. I've got shade number 1 and shade number 3. Shade number 1 is the Champagne, and shade number 3 is the Pink Gold. So I'm going to start off with the Pink Gold. I think that these are really easy to apply. It has the little doe foot applicator, and I'll just pop some of that over my lid, and I'll just put a little bit through here as well. Now these do dry down. They also last really well. I would say that they don't dry down as fast as the Chanel ones, although I don't have an issue putting the Chanel ones on either. So this is just a Sonia G brush, and I just tap it out to begin with, and then just slightly blend it as well. And then exactly the same with the other eyelid. Again, just tap it out to begin with, and then just lightly blend it up. Now I'm just going to wipe down the Sonia G, the pencil one, and just using the same shade, I'm just going to put a little bit on the back of my hand, and then pick some up with the brush, and I just want to put some through here as well. And then I'm going to take the champagne one, and I just want to put a little bit through here. So I will use the doe foot applicator to do this. I was thinking about maybe put on the back of my hand first, but the applicators are quite a good size, so I'm just going to dot a little bit in here. It's just to add just a little bit of lightness, and I'm going to put a little bit in the inner corner as well. And then I'm just taking the Sonia G, this is the flat definer. It's just that it's a smaller brush, just so I've got a little bit more control. So just add a little bit of lightness through here, and just tap it through here as well. And the blush today that I'm going to use is a Laura Mercier one, and I just picked this up the other day because I really wanted the shade, and it hadn't been available in New Zealand, or when it got stocked at Mecca it sold out really quickly. And this is the shade Gauva. Now I have about 2 or 3 other Laura Mercier blushes, and I think that they're really beautiful. And I think this is a really gorgeous shade with today's eyeshadow. The eyeshadow look is really soft, has that little bit of sparkle, and I just want a soft blush to go with it as well. So I'm just going to grab my Chukahodo brush. This one is the F03, and sweep into it. Now I have used this a couple of times since I got it, so I know that it's really lovely. I just think the shade's really, really beautiful. So for lipstick today, I'm going to choose one of these Nude. These are the Dior Addict. These are the lip maximizers. And I have 5 shades. I've got Intense Mauve, Intense Red, Pink. I've also got the shade Beige, and I've also got the shade Shimmer Nude as well. Since today's makeup is very soft and very light, I'm going to go with the 2 lighter shades. There is also the Beige as well, but I think I'll go with Pink and Shimmer Nude. I'm going to use them both. So I'm going to put on the Pink first, and then I'm going to put the Shimmer Nude over the top. The Shimmer Nude by itself is really lovely too, and I haven't actually worn these together, but I think they'll look really nice. So I'm going to start off with the Pink. So the Pink is really a barely there shade for me. Get a slight bit of pinkness, and I think there's nothing wrong with that. I think it looks really beautiful by itself. But I just want to try the Shimmer Nude over the top and see what that looks like. So here is the finished look, and It is very soft, very light, and I'm really pleased that I used that Estee Lauder foundation, the sheer one. I think it looks really lovely. The Sisley liquid eyeshadows, the Eclat ones, are really beautiful. They have this really, it's a subtle shimmer. It doesn't emphasize the texture on my eyelids. I think it is really beautiful. I also think that these last really well during the day. And just like with the Chanel ones, I think they look beautiful just on their own. It's just that I prefer just to pop a darker shade, a matte eyeshadow in the corner. But either way, I think they look really beautiful. And I love this new blush, Gauva, the Laura Mercier one. I know that there's not much of a pop of colour there, but it is just enough. And I think for this overall look, I think it looks really, really lovely. And I do like those two Dior Maximizers together, the pink one and then the Shimmer Nude over the top. That's the first time that I've put them together. But you get that there's a little hint of, it's just a tiny hint of that pink underneath. And then you get the Shimmer Nude over the top. I think together they look really, really beautiful. And as you saw, the perfume that I've put on for today is the Chanel. It's the beige one. It is one of my favorite perfumes. So these videos really are me putting on makeup for the day. It's still morning here and I've got to go out soon, and this is what I will be wearing for the rest of the day. And I'm also going to be doing hopefully a couple of other videos. I need to pop out and hopefully it doesn't get too hot because I really want to do some more videoing as well. So that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you next time. Bye.